Hello everyone, Minute Plus Meditation here. It is Wednesday, December the 6th, and this is the feast of Saint Nicholas. This is the true Saint Nicholas, the one that, if this is the true Saint Nicholas and has kind of been distorted down through time, twisted and commercialized, so we get our Santa Claus today, but it's Saint Nicholas. That's what we got to remember. Saint Nicholas. He was a bishop, was a martyr for the faith. Was a strong defender for the faith. I believe he was, maybe he wasn't a martyr, but he was a strong defender of the faith. He actually, Small T tradition says he actually was so vigorous in his defense of Arianism and Arius was such an arrogant priest that he actually apparently punched Arius in the face. I don't know if that's historically true or not, but part of me kind of likes it. If both sides are true that, Arius was arrogant, he was full of himself, they vigorously debated. I mean, in some ways we're pretty calm, almost too muted. But in this part of the world at that time, these things got really heated. So we can't just condemn the way they argued. But anyways, he was a vigorous defender of the faith, Saint Nicholas. And he helped the poor a lot. So he's a great model for us to look. And somehow down through time, as this sort of got, spinned and maybe twisted and all the commercialized, blah, 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 helping the poor, giving gifts, and it became just eventually what we now have. So, Santa Claus is fine. I'm not against the idea. I don't think the church is either, but let's not lose Saint Nicholas, ever. Saint Nicholas, he's the one. That's who we want to imitate, not Santa Claus. We want to imitate Saint Nicholas and his love for God, his love for the poor, and his love, for the church. Okay, Isaiah 25. On the mountain of the Lord of hosts, on this mountain, the Lord of hosts will make for all peoples a feast of rich food, a feast of well-aged wines, of rich food filled with marrow, of well-aged wines strained clear. And he will destroy on this mountain the shroud that is cast over all peoples, the sheet that is spread over all nations. He will swallow up death forever. Now, isn't that exactly what happened? First of all, the rich foods is kind of foreshadowing not only the Holy Eucharist, which cannot be outdone in terms of feeding the heart and soul of the human person, because it is Jesus Christ himself, body, blood, soul, and divinity, really, truly, and substantially present under the form of bread and wine. So nothing supersedes the Holy Eucharist except the beatific vision, right? We have Christ himself. We're accepting his invitation. We're entering into the covenant when we receive him into our body and soul so that he can be King and Lord of our life. So that's why it's absolutely necessary that we be free of mortal sin. It's one of the worst things we can do when we're not and we receive the Eucharist. It's sacrilege. So we need to repent of these things. Okay, so the Lord will prepare this banquet of rich foods and so on, and that's precisely what he's done by giving us the sacraments, in particular to the Holy Eucharist. Over to the Gospels. As Jesus left Tyre and Sidon, he passed along the Sea of Galilee and he went up the mountain where he sat down. Okay, great crowds come to him, bringing the maimed, the blind, the mute, and many others. He heals them. Then Jesus, he still has great care for them. He called his disciples and said, I have compassion for the crowd because they have been with me now for 3 days. So what happens? Then ordering the crowd to sit down on the ground, he took the 7 loaves and the 5 fish, and he multiplies them, feeds the crowd, and they took up the broken pieces left over, 7 baskets full. So there's 2 episodes where this is recorded. It may have happened more times, but at least 2 times. One the 7 baskets, one the 12 baskets, right? So we'll see. There's many points going on here. First of all, Jesus takes care of our physical needs. He can do this. He shows us he can do this. Normally, he doesn't do that. We would like him to do it, just make the crops grow and everything so we don't have to do any work, but then we would do any work. What would we do? Sit around, twiddle our thumbs, play Twinkies and so on, or tiddlywinks? We get bored stiff, so we need to do our own thing, make things grow. And in the present situation with original sin, so on, we're having to do this with sweat and toil. But the Lord shows that He can do this. He can take care of our physical needs. But then He's foreshadowing the Holy Eucharist. There's a superabundance of, think about this, Jesus could have made the exact amount that was needed in order to fill the crowd so there wasn't one thing left over. Now, do you believe He can do that? He could calculate in His divine intellect exactly what was needed for every person that was there, so there was not one crumb left over. He could do that, but He doesn't do it. What He does is multiply bread so there's a superabundance of it, showing us that He really wants to pour out into us a superabundance of His grace. And this is something always to keep in mind. Jesus is not chintzy. He's not cheap. He's not pusillanimous, to use a word that's not used very often. Jesus is magnanimous, superabundant. Just remember this when you pray. God bless you.